we're starting. Thank you, our viewers, for joining us, and welcome back from this particular newscast that has just ended. I'm Karaga Baldwins, and we're coming to you live from the Campasian International Conference Center. We are going to have a discussion about a familiar social matter, and that is marriage. Why do we need to have marriage? Why do we need to have state registration of that marriage? And what are the means that this particular state system uses to make sure that it legalizes marriage? Before we go into the in-depth of the discussion, please, let's have this particular introduction, then we'll be right back.
Cultural anthropology, the human challenge, William Haviland and Barney McBride define marriage, which is also called matrimony or wedlock, as a socially or ritually recognized union between two people, also called spouses, that establishes rights and obligations between them, as well as between them and any resulting biological or adopted children and affinity who are in-laws and other family relations through marriage. Marriage is principally an institution in which interpersonal relationships, usually sexual, are acknowledged or sanctioned. Historically, in most cultures, married women had very few rights of their own, being considered, along with the family's children, the property of the husband. As such, they could not own or inherit property or represent themselves legally. In Europe, the United States and other places in the developed world, beginning in the 19th century and lasting through the 21st century, marriage has undergone gradual legal changes aimed at improving the rights of the wife. These changes included giving wives legal identities of their own, abolishing the rights of husbands to physically discipline their wives, giving wives property rights, liberalizing divorce laws, providing wives with reproductive rights of their own, and requiring a wife's consent when sexual relations occur. In the rest of the world, there continues to be controversies regarding the legal status of married women, legal acceptance of or leniency towards violence within marriage, especially sexual violence, traditional marriage customs such as dowry and bride price, forced marriage, marriageable age, and criminalization of consensual behaviors such as premarital and extramarital sex. To this effect, an historical canvas, a form of legal order, was introduced in Uganda as a way to provide government oversight and an acceptable framework in which to recognize proper marriage arrangements. Celebration of civil marriages in Uganda is governed by the Marriage Act Cap 251. With this overarching view, the Uganda Registration Services Bureau, in conjunction with NTV, bring to you a discussion on the new developments that have been introduced by the Bureau to ease marriage registration and returns processes. You're welcome.
And indeed, you're welcome, Karaga Baldwins. And on the social media pages of NTV, we put a question asking you that, do you think the state contributes any value to the quality and longevity of marriages by demanding that they be legally registered? And so far, there is quite an interesting engagement to this particular question, and I see Noble Israel says, marriage goes to those that have truly decided to do so, not those who are forced. Then I can see Roger says they only want money from poor people, that is government. Matovu says, no way, it's just a way of widening the tax base. Wow, very interesting opinions about this matter. So let's discuss this, because it's phenomenal. It's a foundational social aspect for societal development, and in-house, a representative from URSB, an expert in this social area, Charles Nsimbi, the manager, Civil Registration, Uganda Registration Services Bureau, is right here. Charles, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Baldwin.
Yeah. So the legal construct or framework that we're working under, the marriage system in Uganda is the Marriage Act of 1904. Yes. Pretty quite backward in terms of time, and the provisions are that there should be a place of celebration of marriages, registrars, entries to be made in marriage certificate. So we need to understand, besides this particular act, what is the legal context, rather legal basis and rationale of registering marriages, perhaps world over, but contextually in Uganda.
Thank you, Baldwin, and thank you, viewers. Keep it at NTV. You get value for your watching, you know.
Thank you.
Yes. First of all, registration of marriages or marriage registration is governed by the Constitution to start with. Article 18 says the state shall register all birth, death, and marriages. They are known as civil vital events. And there are reasons. The law derives from there, from the Constitution, which obligates the state to register them. I almost want to start with what he said on social media, that this is about people who love themselves, and you know, why would the state do? The sentiment seems to be like, well, why would the state to do with my bedroom? They have actually said that. Unfortunately, the state has to do something about it, because when there is any problem, you always run to the state. And the state is obligated to look after its people. That's why it's there. That's why there's a state. So because of Article 18, Uganda has laws governing marriages, and the laws are so good. You said it 1904. There's another one in 1906, and
yes,
they're amazingly good. They came in as during the colonial times, and then we adopted them at independence, and with a few amendments here and there. There are actually 4. There is the Marriage Act, which you've talked about, which governs monogamous marriages. That means the civil marriage, the one which is at URSB. Or
monogamous means
yes,
one
man, one woman. That is the most important one we have. It governs both. That's why it governs the Christian marriages, because they are monogamous. So that's where that's the registration of marriages would come from. Then, but of course, the colonialists and the state as well recognize that there are other marriages. And so there is the Customary Marriage Registration Act, which was brought into play because even when the colonials came in 1904, people were married. People were marrying and they had wives. And so they had to make a legal construct for them. And that one follows the norms and customs of your tribe, the way you used to be married. All it requires is that once you've done all those things, then you go to the state and register that marriage so that it is recognized by the state. And then there is a Mohammedan Divorce and Marriage and Divorce Act of Mohammedans, which is basically the Sharia, the Sharia law, taken over by the state, so that now we can know. So again, you do the norms and customs as per Sharia, and then all you do is to register it. And then to register it with first of all with the district Hadi, and then eventually with the council, Supreme Council, and then eventually with URSB. Then there is the Hindu Marriage and Divorce Act, for our colleagues, the Indians who follow the Hindu culture. And then also you do the norms and customs according to the Hindu culture, and then you win. So basically those are the follows which govern.
So until the state certifies this particular marriage process done by these particular faith-based organizations, it will not be legally binding. Is that what you mean, or it will not be recognized by the state?
You've used an interesting word, Baldwin, legally. You see, the church has its own, for instance, the church, it has its own canon laws and everything, okay? But the state has the laws. So until you have registered a marriage with the state, then you cannot expect the state to recognize it. It's as simple as that. Let me use perhaps an example we all understand. It's like when you go to school, you study in your school, and then your parents pay fees, you do exams in that school, until your NEB gives you a certificate. You have not started senior 4. Because you see, you're doing it for your own self. Yeah? You are in your school and you're paying your fees and everything, and you can leave it at that. Yes, you can stop there and say, me, I will not do the UNEB exams and I will not get the UNEB paper.
But
you will have got the knowledge, you will have done your literature, you will have done your history. So the state does not stop you from wedding. If you went to church and wed, it's very good, and like they've said, perhaps the state just wants to get money. No, actually not, because by then, when you wed, for instance, in the Catholic Church where I belong, yeah, the church will register you, and even the Pope will know that you are married. And in heaven, I can guarantee that they know that you are married. Unfortunately, the state has no idea that you are married, and therefore, if anything happens to you, please don't run to the police, don't run to court. I think today there was some news that some people have been in court and they have been separated. Some people, yes. So don't go to court. If that's what you think you want, that's perfectly okay. You can stay married in heaven, but you're still living here.
Or nothing, you will not report.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so the Customary Marriage Act, I think what you've alluded to, registered, specifies that these kinds of marriages are registered with the sub-county chief, town clerk, who issues a customary certificate. Of course, then URSB comes in. Yes. All other marriages must be registered with the Registrar of Marriages in a book to be kept in his or her own offices. This is simply the articulation of the Act. Yes. And the Registrar General is the Registrar of Marriages of Kampala. So just help us get the process and procedural sequencing of how you get to do this registration, especially with the state.
Thank you, Baldwin, again. You see, like I said, there are 4 laws, okay? And they try to stick to the norms and customs of those laws. very many people believe that or think that the state registers civil marriages only, the ones which happen in the car or the deceased. No, actually the state registers all marriages, and this is the procedure. You do your marriage according to the act. So if it is a monogamous one and you are in a church, the church will have to get a license. Just like UNEB gives a number to any school, the church gets a number, a license, and then a file is opened in government that is such a church which is wedding. Okay, so for you as a couple, you just go fulfill, for instance, the Catholic or the Anglican or the Pentecostal. You feel the norms which they do. Some people, I think there was sometime in the papers when someone was complaining, why do they require HIV test results, stuff like that. Those are the norms and customs of that. Yes. Of course, they had probably not read the law before, but you see the law allows them to do the norms and customs according to that denomination. And if those are the norms and customs and you want that denomination, then you have to follow those. So where the state comes into is after that church is licensed, when they wed every month, the people they have wed, they notify the state. There's a specific form for that, just like all the P7 and Senior 6 candidates right now have filled forms and submitted to UNEB. And believe me, I am the one who has been paying the fees. And it's the school teachers who have been teaching. But we have had to fill forms and pay money to UNEB to make sure that they are registered. So the state also says, fine, wed in your church, end of month, bring the returns, so and so has wed, Baldwin's has wed X, Y, and Z. And then you pay a very small fee, 35,000, and it is registered. If you are following the Marriage and Divorce Act of Mohammedans, then you go, for them it is a nikah, or nikah can be at home, or it can be in the mosque. And then once it is done, the imam will sign the certificate, it will go through to the district khadi, and the khadi will submit it to the council, either Chivuli, or if it is Tabligh, Sheikh Kaketo, or Old Kampala, whichever the affiliation is. And then those ones will file with the Registrar of Marriages. So if you are Hindu, you go to the Hindu temple and you have whatever they go through, and then the temple will. The distinction is that actually you shouldn't be the one to register your marriage. It's the licensed place. Just like you cannot walk.
Licensed school.
Yes.
Licensed
you can't
university.
go to UNEB and you say, I'm registering for P7. No. It is the licensed school which will register you. Unfortunately, many of those don't. That doesn't happen, but we will go to that sometime later. Now, for the civil marriages, which are celebrated by the cow, or by URSB for Kampala, those ones are automatically registered. And then for the customary, the sub-count, you register it. We actually, URSB, the Register of Marriages, the Registrar General, gives out materials to all these registrars, and so the certificate they issue actually is from URSB. You will go there, you have proof of marriage that because you realize the state does not celebrate, or a registrar does not celebrate a customary marriage. It's done at your home, and it's the parents who agree on this. But once that is done, you take that evidence. If you're a Muganda like me, you probably have a certificate from Bulange where the parents have signed. That's evidence that this has the Buganda culture norms have been fulfilled. And then you take it, the two of you, you sign on the certificate. You still have both of you to sign with their witnesses, and you'll be issued with a certificate. Then the sub-county chief will submit the returns to the chief administrative officer, who is the returning officer of the district, who will ultimately submit the returns to URSB.
And you've now automated, you are attempting to automate this particular process, and it's essentially why we're here. You're trying to introduce an online platform to make this process, the returns of registered, rather of executed marriages,
yes, solemnized marriages, yes.
That's more technical.
The legal one.
Yes. So you are making up a platform to make sure that these institutions can submit their returns, implying the marriages they've conducted within a certain period of time, online to URSB.
Absolutely.
Just expound on that.
We realized, first of all, most of this registration used to happen in the 60s and 70s. And then it broke down, the system broke down, like almost everything else. So basically it was rejuvenated again around 2010, 2012. And we realized that is a huge challenge with returns. First, people didn't know, which we understand, and we started with awareness creation, awareness for the duty bearers. I mean, very many church people, very many imams, almost nobody, even the cultural institutions, which were now reinstated in the 90s, didn't even remember that there is a registration to that say. So we had to first do an awareness. Then people realized. Then we realized that there is a challenge. As you said, the law is a bit old. It didn't envisage many of the things which are happening today. So people just, you cannot imagine that a church in a Kotido has to file returns to Kampala. It doesn't make sense.
Absolutely.
And so many marriages, thousands of marriages are not registered. They are legal because they were celebrated in legally recognized places, licensed churches, and imams were correct and everything. But the state doesn't know. Which means today, after the awareness is created, if you went to the embassy Baldwins and you wanted to travel with your spouse, they would send you to URSB for a certification, and you will find that we cannot do that. We send you back to Kotido where you got married so that you can make a return. So in order, of course, URSB is always forward-looking. And if you look at our strategic investment plan, we had already planned that once we have done the awareness to a certain appreciable level, then we need to make sure that it is actually feasible, that people can do it. And so the only way to go these days is to go digital, to get out of analog. So the platform we are introducing, called National Marriage Registration System, enables you, where you are, to be able to file a returns. All we need to do is to give you an account, like almost everything. You see, I mean, you have an account on Google, don't you? You have an account on WhatsApp, you have an account, you fill in the details and you're given an account. So once you are a legal duty bearer, say you are a priest in a licensed church and you are doing, then we will be able to open, URA has already done it. We're doing all these things, and even the car logbooks and stuff right off the system. You no longer have to travel back and forth, back and forth.
You have a tin,
yes, that's it. So now you see that registration, the tin. So that's the licensed church will give you that. Then we can open an account for you. So you sit in my village in Chanamukaka, and you are able, you have wed people. My church is called in Narozali Parish. You are able to wed people in Narozali, and at your own leisure, you are able to sit down and fill in the forms, and we'll be able to recognize, and you print off your own acknowledgement from it.
Now, so we're going to go for a break. I just need us, when we come back, to probe the efficacy of this, because if it sets a presumption that all the nation faith-based organizations have all this hardware of the technology that you're expecting people to go online, and perhaps the capabilities of ICT.
Indeed.
So let's go for a break and come back and just delve deeper into this matter. It's extremely, very important, a social matter of foundational importance to the development of the nation. Let's go for a break. We'll be right back.
This is Biabekul #1 member. You have what? Wala ngine fana nyo bilingo cyali muduga kwa chikolotya.
Obute yali we kubo bote nze kolele kyo wa musebe.
Akajiga bwa kuongeza bwati.
Wana ni bantu batu.
Abafunde gomba ngwe basi baleka.
Waliwo muwumbo. Otambo nawe nokwekanga. Koma obubonero busatu.
Don't touch that dial. Keep it locked.
Siri muyembe.
Amnange mero.
Nasinziyeli kikuwa.
This is your one and only queen, aka Swag Mama.
This is Jaguar and you're watching Comedy Store with
Alex Mohanje.
Kashango mwana zatora mutera nabo. Okumana kuyisha napinga kabo wabo.
Ikiyezo juu chini ili nibu.
On the next episode
is brought to you by Roofing's Strength of a Nation.
On the next episode.
What are you trying to tell me? I'm saying that I fell in love with you. That I fell madly in love. That I fell deeply in love. This woman is sick in the head. I only have one request to make of you. Please don't divorce me.
Why are you here? How did you get here?
Yes?
On the next episode.
Roofing's Strength of a Nation.
Thanks for rejoining us. I'm Karaga Baldwins, and we're coming to you live from the Campus Arena International Conference Center. We're discussing this particular quintessential phenomenon of marriage and in the context of Uganda. We put there a question about the state's value addition for asking people to register their marriages. And I'm seeing some blades says that do they give a discount for multiple registrations? Then Susan Nia Pa says that yes, because it provides for recognition of the marriage and a sense of protection to the marriage. Then somebody says no, Ibrahim, and lastly Scott says that does it even care? Maybe for the case of collecting taxes from the marriage certificates and trusts, this is repetitive. There is an impression that for this demand for someone to register these marriages, it's the state trying to scheme for more money from the public. But anyway, you are trying to justify that. So you're talking about this online automated system where you get, on there you have an account and you are making submission of the marriages conducted as a faith-based organization. And of course you have the contracting of a civil marriage, as you described, URSB, and said that an intending couple should appear in person before the registry of marriages for their district for an interview. The intending couple should come with the following proof of citizenship, for example, passport or national identification card, all those paraphernalia. So, definitely you're now changing this. You are putting the burden on the organization, which submits most of these particular details, I guess.
Yeah, you can
say but that. How effective is this online system that you're talking about? Because I'm not sure that the ICT development infrastructure in this nation is universal now, and that even people are savvy in those particular institutions, except the ones in majorly developed towns and cities.
Yeah, let's look at them really. Who are we talking about? First of all, it is not entirely true that the infrastructure is not savvy. You just have to look at the mobile money. Is there a village in Uganda which doesn't have a mobile money kiosk? It has reached that far. So sometimes the guys outside are looking at and they're wondering, we're the ones who undermine ourselves. Let's look at the duty bearers. Who are they? And who are we talking about? Let's look at the chief administrative officer of any district. Is there a single chief administrative officer who does not have a computer? I think government has a full project in local government to ensure that these people have these facilities. And the internet is now on dongles. You just put in the dongle and you're good to go. Okay, modem, whatever. Okay, so and I know there's a telecom company which says they already have the highest best in every place in this country. So yeah, I think we have internet connectivity everywhere. And we have, for the cows, we cannot say they do not have. Now let's look at the churches. There might be a few churches, but I know that in mine, in Chanamukaka, and that is supposed to be fairly rural, they definitely have a computer, they have solar panels up. The priests, I don't know, but I don't think the priests live with lanterns anywhere in this country anymore. That was, so we sit in Kampala and we say that, no, these people don't have. So is there any priest anywhere who does not have access to a computer? It is possible. But then that is, when you look at a spectrum of people, would that deter us from rolling out, or would that be the exception which we have to address? You see? So then let's look at the other duty bearers, the imams and the district head. You remember I said it's a district head, not every imam at every masjid, but the district head, okay? So if you look at is there a district in Uganda where the district head, the main mosque, has no computer? Really? I don't think so. But anyway, if there is, that's where... But
have you made that study, or you're
presuming? Yes, we've done a bit of study, because you remember I said we have been issuing materials, physical materials, books, and we have traversed this whole country doing that. During the awareness, first of all, in order to do the awareness, in order to distribute materials, you needed to do awareness. So we did it simultaneously. We would go and train and then distribute the materials. And we have started getting the feedback. Now, the biggest constraint was, you guys, it's expensive. I remember Bishop Franzelli from Kotido, he said, me, in Kotido I weighed maybe 2 or 3 a month. And you expect me, our nearest office is in Mbale because we have regional offices. You expect me to drive to Mbale and return 2 marriages a month worth 70K for in government fees? Really? And I will drive probably 2 full tanks of... It doesn't make sense, so I cannot do that. So we realized the next bottleneck after the awareness and the materials is the transmission. And you will be surprised, we interfaced a lot when we were doing national registration a few years ago, and we realized that we could transmit all those things the registrations from the little parishes. Because the internet connectivity was available, we are able to transmit them all the way to Kololo. The same with when elections happen. You know that results end up at the district, they are aggregated and sent while the electoral commission is in Nambole. So it actually we do have in this country. And now NITA U has been just launching the third phase, I think, third or fourth phase of the national backbone, the fiber optic cable. So yeah, we have the facilities. Yes, we might have exceptions. Then we will address this. Now, if you remove the facility, the training we're going to do. Incidentally, why we're here is to expound to the people that this is coming. Because for us, we have launched it at headquarters and we are using it. Now, we need to, as I said, we need to roll it out to each individual duty bearer. That's where the training and the actual setting up of accounts has to happen. We can't set up accounts.
Yeah, because I tried to log on, I tried to get onto your website, seek for maybe a link or some kind of
on www.ursb.go. Yes, there is the link, but you would need to know. Yes, we haven't yet. We will do it when I show you. That's the training we are doing. Yeah, there is a link. When you go through, you will be able to get there. But that's the next phase now. Once the people know this is coming, we've listened and we are addressing a challenge.
So is the cost stays the same? Is there a cost diminution by providing this automated or online platform? Because like in the general terms, currently the costing I'm seeing here, the civil marriages, the final notice of marriage is 10,000, for foreign applicants $10. Display of notice of the notice board is free. Celebration of marriage is 200,000. I need to, otherwise I don't want to be more naive.
I can see.
Yeah. So issuing of marriage certificates 25,000 shillings. So is this going to be the continuing cost, or is there diminution simply because the person really is online? Why should I pay more money than?
And the cost.
And how do you transmit that particular payment?
Okay.
Is it mobile money?
Okay. Good. Yeah. First, the cost is statutory. This one, it is the minister shall, and then they make a statutory instrument. This will be the cost. So that is not changed. The fees you pay. The cost we are reducing is what I alluded to when I was talking about Bishop Franzeli in Ikotido.
Yes.
Because even if you are in Kampala and you're coming from Raga, you still have to move with the physical forms, and carry them to Georgian House. There is a cost there. Even if I know that Baldwin, before you use Uber, still there is a cost. But even if you use
because it's not my boss.
Yeah, but even if you use the border B, you would still incur a cost. There's also the cost in time, which you lose. Now you are sitting. That's what I mentioned at the beginning. At your convenience, you make your own town. You see, the law says within the first 10 days of every month, the duty bearer shall submit the following. So you are under that pressure. But now you can enter each marriage as it comes, and the payment.
Is entry costed? Is the costing for this per entry? Is it per marriage? I hope you're getting my question.
Yes.
Is it, for instance, if I make entries, 10 marriages per day, is that broken down? Is the cost broken down per marriage submitted, or just the day's submission that I've made?
No, when you're entering the system, when you're entering on the system, you reach a point where to tell you, and this will answer what you asked to, how do you pay? You pay in URA. You pay in the bank, PRN. That's what everybody has been doing, except you also had to go to the bank. That's another cost, which you had to go to the bank, pay and get slips, those assessment forms, pay, and then come with a receipt. Now the system will do that for you. We'll link up with whatever and make the assessment form with you. Exactly. So you will pay each return, each marriage is costed. That's the cost for that marriage, each one. So if you have 10. And you enter, it will give you an assessment for 10, you go and pay, and then you are able to enter the PRN for the 10. If you pay for 50, if you pay for 1, it's okay. But what it does...
So the variation of the expense in terms of the price you pay to URSB is per the marriage?
To URA. The payments are all to URA,
Okay.
and that's the beauty about it. So you pay in the bank.
But of course, it goes to your account.
No, it doesn't.
Consolidated fund.
It goes to consolidated.
Okay,
For us, we are normal people. Whether we make so many billions of so few, we just get our normal salary. That's standard. But anyway, we are trying to make things, because you see, people are going on to a bank and then they assess wrongly because maybe the bank teller is not very conversant about marriages, and they assess you as a customary marriage something, and you pay that, and then when you reach your SB, we inform you and say, no, yours is a church marriage under the Marriage Act, you need to pay so much, go back. So all that back and forth, all that sort of thing is what we are trying to get rid of, because now when you enter, you will be able to choose. This is a church marriage, and if you reach there, even the churches are already in the system. So you would go drop down menu, click Ruwaga Cathedral, and then you go in, and it will immediately say the names, your signature, and everything will already be in the system when we open the account for you. So you log on with your password, and you start entering.
That's why the interesting aspect. So the faith, all those organizations are already registered. They're approved.
The registered ones.
Yes.
The ones we have.
And those are the legal
institutions
that are supposed to conduct marriages.
Yes.
So the question is, of course, because the Marriage Act is saying this kind of moribund, seemingly moribund with the passage of time. It says that Section 20 says that marriages may be celebrated in any licensed place of worship by any recognized minister of the church, denomination or body to which the place of worship belongs. Notwithstanding subsection 1, the marriage shall be celebrated with open doors between the hours of 8 o'clock. It gives those specifications.
Absolutely.
So what is the process of getting this organization to qualify to be registered and licensed as a legitimate institution to conduct marriages?
Very simple. Actually, for church to get a license, all you need to do is to apply to the Minister of Justice through URSB, through the Registrar General. And the things you need to attach, pictures of the church in and out. We don't want to gazette a church which will hit the worshippers tomorrow, and then they say, but it was even government recognized. Yes, absolutely. So you must have the usual, and it is washrooms, decent washrooms, parking space, properly, fairly, a structure which is there, not under a tree. Just we cannot license a tree, unfortunately, even if you worship there. But if you have a decent structure, we will do that. And then you will put ownership, proof of ownership, because you see, marriage is till death do us part, largely, or till death or court do us part. And so we do not want, Baldwin, for you to get married and 20 years down the line, when you are picking UNSSF, you try to locate the church where you wed and it moved. There is no church, there is an arcade or something, So we need to make sure that the church owns the premises. And normally we send an inspector, one of our registrars, to go and have a look around, because no offense meant, but Uganda is well known that I can have pictures of this very beautiful building which does not exist on the ground. So either if it is in Kampala, or as the law said, it is the Registrar General, he will send somebody to make an inspection report. If it's outside Kampala, the Chief Administrative Officer will make a report and say, yeah, this is a decent place. Then you also attach, you read the law, say that recognized minister. So you attach IDs and the qualifications of the recognized ministers, because you are the one who decides who is the recognized minister. For some churches, they go through school of some sort and they get ordination. For some other churches, the Holy Spirit appears in the night, and that is the qualification. Baldwin, you slept, and the church elders say our qualification is that, but we need to know who is the recognized minister.
And there is the lacuna, because if you're making a provision that there's a person who is qualified, a minister, to do this, and you don't have standardized prerequisites and qualities that should be embodied in this person, you're simply depending on the...
No, they are there. They are there.
Exactly. So which are those? Because, of course, the Marriage Act says that a minister shall not celebrate any marriage if he or she knows of any just impediment to the... Okay, that is just a specification in Section 21. But in you as URSB, is there due diligence that is done about these people? Because if I submit just based on my own biased impression and I say this person is qualified, but there is a doubt about this individual, or
you see,
so what are the fulfilling preconditions?
You see, it is there in the law. That's why we like this law. You said it is moribund or something. But actually, this law was very ahead of itself. Essentially, it's the English law, actually. The qualifications are there. You see, they said minister, recognized minister of the church. The state cannot go into every single church and determine who. That would be overstepping the mandate. Because you see, the marriage is according to the norms and customs. So me, I'm Catholic, okay? I profess the Catholic faith. If I profess the Catholic faith, those people have their own criteria of who becomes a minister. And they are the ones who decide, this one is ordained, and this one we have even defrocked. You know, there's a whole cardinal, I think in the US, McCormick or something, who was defrocked. Now, the state cannot do that for them, okay? They have their norms and customs. All they are saying is that you tell us your norms and customs. That's why we're saying IDs and qualification. You tell us what constitutes, so that not every Tom, Dick, and Harry comes and says, I'm a minister from the
this category of institutional system, for instance, the Catholic Church or the Anglican Church,
or the Hindu or the Muslim.
So they give you prescriptive prerequisites that qualify this particular minister, and so you assess as they submit to the minister. You use the criteria that they
absolutely, and they are able to say the following persons are no longer eligible, and by law we strike them off that list, because they are the ones who say this is the it's not the state recognizing the ministers, it is the denomination, the body, the religion which so of course what you're talking about, Hinson, what about the others which are not institutionalized? What happens to them? And there are quite a few of them. Fortunately, even those ones do have a criteria. I did mention that some people, it is the Holy Spirit. Now, it is extremely hard for the state to be able to examine how the Holy Spirit has done this. But what we're interested in is that this denomination is legally there. So if you a church, Holy Ghost, fire, something, you must be a registered entity, okay? Which registered entity has directors and everything. As you know, when you register an entity, a company or a business or something. And then you also have a constitution when you are registering that, and that constitution defines what the modus operandi of how you're going to and so that's from all that is when you tell us so and so is what we recognize for us. This is the minister who fulfills our norms and cuts. So I will take it at that.
Just one question, one minute, just in addition in the same line.
Yes.
There are these nomadic fellowships, okay? It's
they will have you for dinner if they are if you call them nomadic.
At least I'm not specified.
They are preaching the word.
Yes, whatever. But they have no permanent presence, rather perhaps location, address, and they simply operate commercially. They go rent out a building, they conduct their own fellowship fancy, but they can move this day, the other day. Those also can they qualify for this particular?
No, the law requires you to have premises, and that's why we're talking about ownership of the premises. It requires you to be in a physical location where we can come with the address. You see, you cannot register an entity without an address. Even when you're registering a company, even a simple company, you cannot register it legally without an address. You must have a physical address where you sit. So if they move, I'm not sure, but they must have an address if they are registered. And that's for us where we shall inspect. And that's where we find that, no, you are not actually there, or you don't exist on the ground, and therefore we cannot issue, or rather forward your application to the minister to issue a certificate, a license for you to do whatever. So yeah, due diligence is done. But taking into consideration that the Constitution guarantees your faith, your freedom of worship. The state is not going to attempt to come and say, you know what, you're going to worship in this manner. That one it has not done.
Communism,
no, we're not going to say that. So we let you decide on how you're going to worship and what your ministers are. All we want is that when you're going to wed, please inform us. Let's find out that you actually exist and who is qualified to wed, and you'll have your license. Okay, so let me go for a break. Come and wrap this up. You articulated very enriching about this particular issue. If anyone had any skepticism or misunderstanding about marriage, I think you're really bringing it. Thank you. The clarification. Thanks, our viewers. Let's go for a break and come and wrap up this discussion.
It's time for the biggest rewards to Connecting Air. Tune in this Sunday. Yes, it's double. 2 Toyota Wishes, 2 fridges, a trip for 2 to Dubai. This could be your lucky day. To Connecting Air with Pepsi. Everyone is a winner. To Connecting Air every Sunday at 6 p.m. only on NTV.
I'm feeling super. Zendy super. I'm feeling super.
Ofune super feeling olwaleero okuzanya ku MTN nyiga star 165 star 33 hash ate ku Airtel nyiga star 185 star 33 hash yingizamu enamba zo 3 zinnamukisa ozeeko NTV teekamu omuwendo gwa sente zoyagala okusiba okuva ku siringi 10 okutuuka ku mitwalo 5 olwo
On the next episode is brought to you by
Roofings, strength of a nation.
On the next episode.
I'll be back. Wait for me, okay? Leave me here. Eat your food, Vanjie.
Is everything set?
On the next episode is brought to you by
Kiri Soda.
We have transported you into the wilderness with no home. For real?
I like electricity and makeup.
This is our fashion hero adventure.
Oh my god. Models, get up! Are you guys ready for a photo shoot?
I love it.
Please welcome Miss Kelly Swanson.
To be part of a movement redefining beauty, this is an opportunity of a lifetime.
This is the place where you get to show people to love themselves.
Maybe the things that made me different will become the things that made me great.
Soda in 4 different flavors: lemon, mixed berry, orange, and Kiri Cola. Celebrate life with Kiri Soda.
Thanks for joining us again. We are wrapping up this discussion on the social phenomenon of marriage, and on Twitter and Facebook we put up a question about your impressions on why we should get married in churches and mosques. And I can see Spins on Twitter. He says that marriage should be done according to the Constitution of Uganda. Then I can see a boy from Namayemba. It's just a shortcut of getting married after all the mosques and churches' marriage certificates are certified by URSB. Lastly, at Banjire, it's okay if and only if the wife and the husband are wise without, not clear, nudity, I don't know what that nudity is. Church or mosque marriage is good. Great, thanks for your positive responses in that particular regard. So we're wrapping this up, and I have a great guest, Charles Nsimbi. So Charles.
Yes, you're doing.
Why should I really register this? Besides the compliments you're making about the beauty of constitutionality, about legality, recognition, what am I benefiting from getting this registered, this marriage process registered?
Well, just because you live here on earth.
I'm not yet in heaven.
Yes, you're not yet.
That's why I'm headed.
Let me start with the Bible. You see, this question you're asking me was actually asked to Jesus. When they told him, why are we paying taxes? And you remember, he pulled out a coin and said, what face is that? And he said, Caesar. And he said, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. And if you go into Romans 13, I think it's very clear for the Christians, it says, obey all authority on earth because all authority is ordained from God. So actually, you are living on earth, you have authority on earth, and I think marriage is both a spiritual matter, but it's also a practical matter. Now, Baldwins, you know that when you live here, you earn a salary, you also have NSSF and things like that, and you save and you do whatever, and you want to travel and do everything and stuff like that, and you want to do investments together, to open companies together with your wife and everything. Now, all that is not the spiritual side of marriage. That's the practical day-to-day living. You have children. That one. And that one is governed entirely by Caesar. Okay? Yes. That is Caesar. When you go to the bank, I'm sorry, even if the Pope signed, you're not going to get that loan.
Or the Holy Spirit
even if the Holy Spirit came. Yes, they will touch the people, but they will remind you that obey all authority. The Spirit will remind you and convict you that you have not obeyed the authority on earth, which was ordained by God. So yeah, for practical purposes, it is you, actually not the government, which is benefiting. 35,000 for a lifetime registration. I won't delve into any other registration. I don't know how much it costs you to register a child in P7, not married, just P7. What costs?
Ask me how much it costs me to put my child in kindergarten.
Absolutely.
For each term.
Now, 35,000 for the rest of your life to have that recognition. Obviously, it cannot be that, and it's a one-time off, so it cannot be a revenue stream. That government is planning that. You know what, we are going to get money because you only pay it once. It cannot be, it's not like OTT, which you are paying every other minute. So yeah, okay. No, I'm not bringing politics. I need to break this really practical for people to understand. You see, I have not even gone into the other part because in Africa we fear to talk about death, so we don't even write our will. But God forbid, it's not even God forbid, because it will happen. The one thing you are sure about life is that you will not get out of it alive. You will definitely not get out of life alive. So, what have you done? And we see this every day. I'm here talking, and it's almost like we are bantering, and we are having a conversation. But almost every day in my office, I see people coming and they are crying. And the funny thing, I don't know if it's a coincidence, but the Administrator General's offices are 2 floors below ours, on the same building. So people go there, supposedly wives, and they only find out that they are not wives, that they have been girlfriends for all 20, 30 years, because it was not registered. And at that time, you can no longer register, the person can no longer sign on any document. He's not there. So this thing appears like a joke until, I'll just give 2 quick examples, which you have covered, NTV, I know you've covered, and they are in the public domain. I think Zigoti died. He was a powerful man, a coffee exporter here. He died not very long ago. And he had wives in the village when he was still having a coffee hall or something in Mityana. Then he moved to Kampala. He became a big exporter and actually married someone in church. When he died, the person in the church whose marriage was registrable registered it and got the letters of administration, which meant she was in charge of even the estate where the wives who were supposedly wives in Mityana, she now had control over this. It's that serious. Now they are in court again because they want to overturn and say they were customarily married. If they can prove that, then it makes this monogamous marriage null and void, and then she loses the letters of administration. It's going to be a hard battle because I don't think they registered the customary.
They just want to.
You see now where the customs, they went today, they may have even done a proper introduction and everything, and even the parents signed, but it was not registered, and the proof in a court of law, which now they have to go to, proof in a court of law for prima facie, as the lawyers like to speak Latin. Me, I read my Latin in the seminary, but prima facie, on the face of it, proof of law is a certificate signed or authenticated by the Register of Marriages.
So, if regardless of what other authorities have signed, which we already alluded to, as long as the URSB or the Registrar General has not appended their stamp or signature, that
you see, if the others have signed, that's how he will be able to append.
But by then,
if they have not, no, you can register it. You can not customary, because you remember customary requires both of you to sign on the certificate. But all the others from church or whatever, you can go to church and pick your record. Even if the other person is deceased, and you come and register it, it's still the marriage occurred because the church was licensed and that person in the church is a registrar. The minister who was recognized is a registrar. So the marriage is still recognized and is registrable even if the people have passed on. You can register it. What you cannot do is for customary marriage, because that one you both need to sign. Once a person has passed on, if you did customary and it was not registered, I'm sorry, you will find we'll discuss this a lot, but the benefits are so immense.
Yeah, so the protections that you are able to benefit from at the point of the other person passing away, which is inevitable, are very crucial that you need to do this certification. Okay, so if, for instance, I did a marriage and I wedded from a church or from a mosque, but I'm not feeling very comfortable and confident that my church might be legal, or perhaps did submit my particular certificate. How do I get validity of my particular marriage status? Not necessarily going to get that proof from church, but perhaps consulting from URSB, and what are the procedures to just ascertain?
The first, of course, you said to find if a church is licensed. That would be the first step, because you don't even bother to do a search if the church is not licensed. It cannot have...
As long as you're wedded, but the church is not part of it.
Now, that one is very simple. It's online. Just go to www.ursb.go.ug, and you will find on that one, you'll find a list of licensed places of worship, POWs. And click that and scroll all you want. They are categorized according to denomination. So you'll find Roman Catholic, Orthodox, Anglican, no, not Anglican, they call them Province of the Church of Uganda, and then Pentecostals, even non-denominational, because we have Baha'i. Baha'i, they say they are not Christian, they are not Muslim, they are non-denominational. So all those are categorized and you can get. So once you find that your church is licensed, then for you to find your particular record is what is known as a search. So that is what you will have to go to a URSB, either any of our offices, up country, or whatever, and they pay a small fee of 25,000, which is called a search fee, and they will run for you and they will give you a search report, and you will know that it was registered. If not, then you can go and put a pistol onto your pastor, and he will make sure he submits it for you.
Okay, so wrap it up this way with the quite a negative spin. Divorce.
Yes.
The implication, the process of course, because I can see the Muslim and Hindu divorces, compliance check. There's even a payment that's supposed to be done, filing of divorce returns and registration of divorce. This is specifically for that other faith-based organizations. What prompts divorce, and how do you take into account a divorce case that has been either materialized or...
Yeah, thank you. First
That's the last bit.
Yes.
I know it's a negative.
No, it is not. Actually, it's not. You see, we say sometimes, that's why you have a registration of a birth and death in the same organization. And even as URSB, we register companies, but we're also the official receiver. So we also wind up the companies. So marriage and divorce. However, yes, union and then divorce. It's demise. So URSB is, at the moment, legally only registers Hindu and the Muslim divorces. And they go through the same procedure. They go through their norms and customs, and they bring a certificate of divorce, and we register it. One thing I want to say about this, you cannot divorce if you are not married. Now, that's why I say it's not a bad thing, because it actually means you need to get your marriage registered. Because if your marriage is not registered, you cannot divorce. Yeah, you can't go to court. This is not church. So you went to a church, and the church gave you a marriage, and the church is not recognized by the state. Then you want to go to court and divorce? That's the state. They are going to ask you to bring a registered certificate.
Okay, so what do you call this when people are staying together, they've had children together, they have property together? Isn't there a de facto kind of interpretation that because of the circumstances that
Kenya has just done that. They have a law which says after 6 months of cohabiting or something like that, then you can be deemed married. Now, in law is a creature of fact. Okay? There must be a start. And if there is an end, there will be an end. But there must be a start point. So at which point do you say that this is cohabiting? The first day she leaves slippers in the room, or the first day she spends the night? You see? So you can't go there. Now, for you to get divorced, you must be married, that's why people say contract. They think government is talking about contract. Actually, it is, in essence, it is a contract.
Because it's a law system. Yes. The state is a structure. Yeah.
So it must start at a certain point X. And that's why you have witnesses, and that's why you have a minister or a registrar doing that. Okay? Now, the point I was trying to make is that why divorce, while it's negative, while divorce is negative, but it's positive, if you think, or if you know any people whose marriage has failed and they have ended up in court, they must have registered. So if for anything, register your marriage to ensure that if it fails, you are able to dissolve it, because you cannot dissolve it if it's not registered. You see?
It sounds like a bad advice.
No,
it's the right advice.
Yeah, it's like when they tell you to make a will, and in Africa we say, that is Tisirani. How can you make a will? No.
It is a jinx of
it's not. It is, but yet we take insurance for the cars, which never even do anything. You have third-party insurance on your car.
Don't tell me.
Yes, absolutely. So, can you? It's an insurance of sorts.
Yeah, it just seems to be very fascinating discussion. It's a social matter that keeps on just boiling up, or whatever it's brought up.
Absolutely.
Very brilliant articulation, and you're really
it
passionate.
Helps when you are the one who is doing this.
Okay,
thank you very much.
You're the manager of civil registration. Thanks for the great work you're doing, and we thank URSB for endeavoring to communicate over our platform here at NTV. God bless, and please say hi to the registration.
I will do that. I'm sure he's watching.
For being with us. We are your #1 station, and we request you, if you're out there as a ministry, as a department or agency or an NGO or corporate institution, you want to come and have a very constructive discussion here with us, talk to our general manager, myself, our sales team. Otherwise, have a great night. I'm Karga Baldwins. God bless.